The peaceful balance of the universe is shattered when a colossal alien fleet suddenly appears in Earth's orbit. The first signs of their arrival are a series of strange disturbances in the atmosphere, unusual lights, odd electromagnetic pulses, and a feeling of unease that spreads across the globe. Governments scramble to understand what is happening, but it's already too late. The aliens, an advanced species with superior technology and intelligence, broadcast their arrival through a message that shakes the entire planet. The beings claim Earth as their next conquest, stating that humanity's primitive ways have no place in their grand plan. Their leader, a towering figure with gleaming silver skin, speaks directly to the people of Earth, his words dripping with disdain. "Your kind has no place in the universe," he declares. "Surrender now, and your planet will be remade according to our needs. Resist and you will be wiped from existence." The arrogance in his voice is undeniable, a clear indication that they view humans as no more than pests. As the days pass, the alien fleet grows, its ships filling the sky in every major city across the globe. Their power is evident. Massive, sleek vessels hover above, their mere presence casting shadows that blanket the cities beneath them. The aliens' ships are equipped with weapons far beyond human comprehension. Laser beams, capable of cutting through mountains, strike at strategic locations across the world, sending governments into panic. Their technology effortlessly disables every military defense system on Earth, leaving humankind helpless. The world leaders are left with only one option: negotiate. But the aliens, in their infinite superiority, show no interest in dialogue. They demand Earth's immediate surrender, their ships poised to destroy anything that stands in their way. As their fleet hovers over the planet, they begin to release signals, warning the people that their time is running out. To the aliens, Earth's defenses are laughable. The best humanity can offer, a few poorly coordinated missile strikes, has no effect. Each attempt to resist is met with swift and devastating retaliation. Cities are reduced to rubble, and millions are left wondering if this is the end. The desperation is palpable. In every corner of the world, families hide in fear, hoping for a miracle that seems increasingly unlikely. The aliens' message is clear: you are nothing. These beings view Earth not as a world of rich history and culture, but as an obstacle in their path. The aliens see themselves as the rightful rulers of the galaxy, and Earth, with its primitive technologies and disjointed societies, is nothing more than an easy target. The international community is in chaos, as leaders from all corners of the world convene, attempting to form a unified response. But despite their best efforts, they find themselves powerless against the overwhelming alien presence. In their attempts to negotiate, Earth's leaders try to offer resources, technology, and even political concessions, hoping to stave off total destruction. But the aliens show no interest in anything but total domination. Each time they reject a plea for peace, they release further demonstrations of their might, destroying entire military bases with a single pulse, sending waves of shock and fear through human populations. As the days pass, the hopelessness grows. The sense of unity among the world's governments is fleeting, and panic begins to spread. How could humanity stand a chance against a force so far beyond its understanding? The aliens' taunts and threats echo through every broadcast, and the reality of the situation begins to sink in. Earth has never faced a foe like this before. The realization dawns: no army, no weapons, no defenses, and no treaties can protect them now. The future of humanity seems doomed. Yet, despite the fear, there is something deeper, a silent defiance beginning to stir in the hearts of ordinary people. Could there be something humanity still possesses that the aliens haven't accounted for? With the alien ships hovering overhead, casting long shadows over Earth's major cities, the clock ticks down. Humanity is on the brink of annihilation, but as the first steps towards surrender seem inevitable, an unexpected hope flickers in the background. There is still time, but for what? Time is running out, and humanity stands at the edge of extinction, with no idea how to fight back against the overwhelming forces arrayed against them. The aliens may be laughing now, but something is about to change, and the fate of the Earth will be decided in ways no one could ever predict. As the alien threat tightened its grip on Earth, the world's governments scrambled to formulate a plan. Every attempt to retaliate had failed miserably. Military bases were obliterated, cities lay in ruins, and the very sky itself had become a battlefield between the alien fleet and Earth's few remaining defenses. Amidst the chaos, a small but determined group of individuals saw the possibility of a solution, one that no one else could see. Hidden deep beneath the surface, away from the eyes of the public and the alien forces, a secret group of maverick scientists, military leaders, and strategists gathered in an underground bunker. Dr. Rachel Bennett, a brilliant physicist known for her unorthodox theories, was chosen to lead this group. Her reputation was mixed. Some saw her as a genius, while others dismissed her ideas as absurd. Yet, in the wake of Earth's collapse, it was her wild theories that seemed to hold the key to humanity's survival. She was no stranger to the idea that humanity might possess more than just basic firepower. She believed there were forgotten technologies, lost blueprints hidden in the annals of Earth's history, waiting to be rediscovered. As the meeting began, tension hung thick in the air. The members of the team were divided. Some were skeptics, unable to imagine that anything from the past could possibly match the power of the alien fleet. Yet, as Dr. Bennett outlined her plan, something began to shift. She spoke of ancient manuscripts, obscure texts hidden away in the world's greatest libraries, some of which had been overlooked for centuries. These texts, written in forgotten languages and encoded in ways that had only recently been deciphered, held detailed blueprints for a weapon unlike anything the world had ever seen. It was a weapon based not on physical destruction, but on energy, drawing from the very fabric of the universe itself. The technology was ancient, originating from a time long before Earth's known history, and it was thought to be little more than myth. But Rachel had uncovered references to it, references that suggested it was real, that it had been built and used by an ancient civilization. This civilization had vanished without a trace, but their knowledge, buried for millennia, might still hold the key to defeating the alien invaders. With the world on the brink of destruction, Rachel and her team had no choice but to act. The blueprints, fragmented as they were, showed how to create a weapon that could potentially match the alien fleet's overwhelming power. However, there was one major obstacle: time. The aliens were getting closer to total victory. Cities were falling daily, and the forces of Earth were being pushed to the breaking point. The project would require not only the blueprints, but also specialized knowledge, rare materials, and most importantly, secrecy. If the aliens discovered what humanity was trying to build, they would surely crush it before it could be completed. Dr. Bennett and her team set to work immediately, assembling the most brilliant minds from every corner of the world. Engineers, physicists, mathematicians, all of them came together in total secrecy. They labored day and night, using whatever resources they could find, even repurposing alien technology in some instances. The weapon, which they dubbed the Revelator, would harness energy unlike anything seen before. It was a fusion of science, emotion, and sheer willpower, capable of tapping into the deepest reserves of humanity's strength. But as they worked, doubt began to creep in. Could they truly create a weapon powerful enough to turn the tide? Was this ancient blueprint even meant for Earth, or was it a dangerous fantasy? No one could answer those questions, and as the days wore on, the pressure grew. Dr. Bennett herself struggled with the weight of what they were trying to achieve. They had no room for failure. As the alien fleet loomed overhead, casting a shadow over the planet, the team's determination solidified. This weapon, this mysterious ultimate weapon, was now humanity's last hope. Yet, even as they moved forward with urgency, Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that something about the Revelator was much more than just a weapon. It was tied to something greater, a force within humanity itself that even the aliens hadn't anticipated. The suspense built with each passing hour. Could they finish it in time? Would it even work? And most pressing of all, could they convince the world that this forgotten piece of history was humanity's best chance against the alien invaders? Every second that passed pushed them closer to a final, irreversible confrontation with the alien fleet. The stakes had never been higher, and humanity's future rested in the hands of a handful of people who had uncovered something that might, just might, save them all. After months of frantic, secretive work, the time had come. Dr. Rachel Bennett and her team, hidden deep in a remote underground facility, stood before the culmination of their efforts, a colossal machine that could alter the course of humanity's survival. The weapon, which they had dubbed the Revelator, was unlike anything the world had ever seen. Its design was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Towering over the team, it seemed almost to hum with an unseen energy, a force that felt alive in its own right. The Revelator was not a traditional weapon of destruction, nor was it made for war in the conventional sense. It was something more, something deeper. Its power came from the very core of human existence. The weapon harnessed the power of human emotion, the strength of collective will, and the unyielding spirit of humanity to protect its home. It was built to channel these forces into a focused beam of energy, a destructive power that could tear through the alien fleet's advanced shields with nothing but the sheer force of human resolve. The team had spent countless hours perfecting the technology. They had used knowledge from the ancient blueprints, combined with the best of modern science, to create this machine that drew on the depths of human emotion. They had discovered that emotions, in their rawest form, held the power to bend the laws of energy and physics. When focused and channeled, they could generate a force far beyond anything the alien invaders had ever encountered. The moment arrived when the team decided to test the Revelator. It stood, ready to fire, in a hidden underground chamber beneath the mountains. The anticipation in the room was thick, the weight of the moment almost too much to bear. Dr. Bennett took a deep breath, knowing this was their last chance. With the press of a button, a series of mechanical arms extended, and the Revelator hummed to life. The ground trembled as the energy built within the machine, a deep, resonating pulse that sent vibrations through the floor. The team watched in awe as the beam slowly began to take shape. A concentrated wave of energy made up of countless human emotions, bound together by an unwavering will to protect Earth. But as the machine powered up, doubts crept in. Was this weapon truly capable of defeating the alien fleet? Could something so abstract, so inherently human, really stand up to an enemy with such overwhelming technology? The answer, for now, remained uncertain. As the beam discharged, it cut through the air with a force so intense that the very walls of the chamber seemed to quake in response. The beam surged through a massive test structure, an artificial replica of the alien ship's defenses. In an instant, the structure was obliterated, reduced to nothing but a smoldering crater. The team stood in stunned silence, their hearts pounding in their chests. They had done it. The Revelator was real, and it worked. The power of human emotion, focused into a single deadly force, had shattered the test structure with ease. There was no mistaking it now. This was humanity's ultimate weapon. However, the celebration was short-lived. As the news of the Revelator's success spread, so did the doubt. Could this weapon, still untested in a real battle, truly take on the aliens? Even as humanity's last hope, the concept of a weapon fueled by emotion seemed almost impossible to believe. It was too abstract, too alien to the way humans typically viewed technology and warfare. The world was filled with uncertainty, and skepticism was growing. But despite the questions and concerns, Dr. Bennett and her team knew they had no other choice. The aliens continued their siege, their ships hovering above Earth, casting shadows over the cities below. They had grown more confident with each passing day, dismissing humanity's attempts to fight back as insignificant. The aliens, who had once laughed at Earth's primitive technology, now turned their mocking gaze upon the Revelator. They saw it as little more than an empty threat, a desperate ploy from a dying species. In a broadcast of Earth, the alien leader laughed derisively, mocking the very idea that such a weapon could stop them. "You truly believe this is your salvation?" he scoffed. "Such primitive, misguided beings." Your emotions are nothing but fleeting, easily crushed by our superior technology. This weapon will be as useless as the rest." His words were meant to intimidate, to break the spirit of humanity once and for all. But even as the aliens mocked them, Dr. Bennett and her team stood firm. The Revelator was not just a weapon, it was the embodiment of humanity's unbreakable will to survive. With no time to waste, they prepared for the final confrontation. The alien fleet was on its way. Whether or not the Revelator could truly change the course of the war, one thing was certain: humanity had placed all its hopes in this untested, improbable weapon. It was a gamble, but it was all they had left. The time had come. After months of planning, secrecy, and doubts, humanity's final weapon, the Revelator, was ready. The alien fleet hung above Earth like a monstrous shadow, its massive ships blocking out the sun. The people of Earth, with little more than their hope and determination, gathered in their last strongholds. Dr. Rachel Bennett and her team stood at the helm, knowing that the fate of the entire planet now rested on their shoulders. The countdown had begun. The Revelator, humming with raw, untapped energy, stood in the heart of Earth's military command center, surrounded by scientists and soldiers. There was no turning back. As the alien fleet shifted into position, the tension reached a breaking point. The moment the alien ships began to open fire on Earth's defenses, humanity made its move. A series of coordinated strikes launched from every corner of the globe, but it was the Revelator that stole the spotlight. The massive device, still untested in battle, was humanity's last hope. With a loud hum that shook the ground, the Revelator powered up. Its core began to glow, slowly at first, then building in intensity. The beam that emerged from the weapon was nothing short of extraordinary. It wasn't a simple blast of energy, like the aliens had expected. Instead, it was a focused wave of pure emotion, a force created from the very will of humanity. It was as if every ounce of human defiance, every moment of struggle, every human heart filled with the hope of survival had been channeled into a single blinding beam of raw energy. The aliens, confident in their superiority, watched with amusement from their ships, anticipating yet another failed attempt. They had seen Earth's weapons before, and they had been no match for the alien technology. "This will be over quickly," the alien commander thought, a cruel smirk curling on his lips. But then something unexpected happened. The moment the Revelator fired, the very fabric of space around the beam seemed to distort. It was as if the universe itself recoiled at the sheer intensity of the energy it carried. The beam crashed into the alien shields with a force that was almost incomprehensible. The shields, once thought impenetrable, began to tremble, their strength faltering under the weight of this unfamiliar energy. The shockwave from the impact rippled through the alien ships, causing them to shudder. Then, in an instant, the shields cracked, and the beam continued on its path, cutting through the alien ship with terrifying precision. The entire vessel was torn apart in seconds, disintegrating into a burst of light and debris. Silence followed, an eerie, stunned silence. The aliens, who had once laughed at humanity, now stared in shock and disbelief. Their initial assumption, that humanity was weak, but their primitive weapons posed no real threat, was shattered in an instant. The Revelator had destroyed one of their most powerful ships with nothing but the raw, untamed force of human emotion. For the first time, the aliens questioned their understanding of this planet's inhabitants. This wasn't a fight they had ever anticipated. This was not a war fought with superior technology, but with something far more dangerous: the indomitable will to survive. The alien fleet was stunned, their confidence rattled by the unexpected turn of events. The battle, which had seemed like a guaranteed victory for the invaders, had just shifted dramatically. But the aliens were not ones to retreat easily. The destruction of one ship only fueled their rage. They had underestimated humanity before, but they would not make the same mistake again. In a flurry of activity, the alien commander ordered a counterattack. The fleet readied its weapons, preparing to unleash their full might on the planet below. Earth had dealt them a blow, but the war was far from over. As the Revelator powered down, Dr. Bennett and her team looked at each other, their faces a mix of awe and disbelief. They had done it. For a brief moment, humanity had proven that they were not to be underestimated. But the cost of this victory was not lost on them. The war had escalated, and both sides now knew that this was no ordinary battle. It was a fight for survival, where every move could be the last. As the alien fleet regrouped and prepared for their next strike, humanity braced itself for the battles ahead. The first strike had shaken the invaders, but the war was far from over. The next steps would determine whether Earth's triumph was a fluke, or the beginning of a new chapter in the fight for freedom. The alien fleet, stunned but not defeated, quickly regrouped and retaliated with full force. Their response was swift and brutal, a display of overwhelming firepower that made the previous strikes seem like nothing more than a nuisance. Earth's defenses, already weakened from the earlier battles, crumbled under the weight of the invaders' advanced technology. The alien ships unleashed wave after wave of devastating attacks, reducing cities to rubble, wiping out entire military bases, and leaving Earth's survivors scrambling to hold on to what little they had left. It was clear now that humanity's initial victory was nothing more than a fleeting moment of hope. The alien forces were relentless, and they showed no signs of backing down. Dr. Rachel Bennett, watching as the world around her descended into chaos, refused to give in to despair. The Revelator had worked once. Could it work again? She and her team had barely begun to grasp the full potential of the weapon. With no time to waste, they began to work tirelessly, pushing the Revelator to its limits, knowing that it was humanity's only chance. The weapon's design was already based on human emotion, but now they sought to amplify its power by tapping into even deeper, more complex feelings. They drew on the full range of human emotion: love, sacrifice, anger, defiance, hope, and even the raw pain of loss. Each emotion, carefully channeled, was fed into the Revelator, strengthening its energy and making it more dangerous to the invaders. As the weapon powered up, the team felt the weight of their task more than ever. Every failure, every lost city, every fallen soldier pushed them to work faster, to push the Revelator beyond its initial capacity. But with each improvement came a new wave of alien counterattacks. The alien fleet seemed to grow more determined, more ruthless. They began targeting Earth's key cities with a vengeance, using weapons that ripped through the very core of humanity's last remaining defenses. Nations fell, governments were overthrown, and the once proud cities of Earth were reduced to ashes. Yet, even as the alien forces gained ground, something unexpected began to happen. The people of Earth, broken but not defeated, began to rally around the Revelator. The weapon had become more than just a machine. It was a symbol of humanity's unbreakable will. With each blast of the Revelator, the people saw a glimmer of hope. It was a reminder that, no matter how dire the situation, humanity had not been completely conquered. The weapon, fueled by the collective emotions of the human race, gave people something they hadn't had in a long time: purpose. As the alien forces closed in, Earth's survivors, those who still remained, found themselves united in a way they never had been before. Countries that had once been divided by borders and ideologies now came together, fighting not just for their land, but for their future. The Revelator had become the focal point of humanity's resistance, a weapon and a symbol. The tension in the air was palpable. Cities fell, but humanity's spirit refused to break. People fought harder, fueled by the belief that they had a chance to turn the tide. It was not just about survival anymore. It was about standing together, about proving that no matter how much power the aliens had, they could never crush the strength of human unity and determination. Dr. Bennett and her team worked around the clock, making final adjustments to the Revelator, knowing that every modification might be their last. The weapon had grown stronger, but so had the alien assault. The battle was far from over, and every day the enemy drew closer. With each victory the aliens claimed, humanity fought back with a renewed sense of resolve. It was a battle of endurance, of holding on long enough to make a difference. The tension built as Earth's survivors continued to fight, knowing that their chances of victory grew slimmer with each passing day. Yet deep inside, there was something they had never had before: hope. It was a fragile thing, but it was there. The Revelator had shown them that they were not powerless, that they could still stand against an enemy far more powerful than they had ever imagined. But with the war reaching its boiling point, the question remained: could humanity hold on long enough to turn the tide? The battle for Earth was far from over, and the next move could be the one that decides everything. The alien assault continued with brutal precision, their ships descending like an unstoppable storm. Humanity's defenses were growing thinner by the day, and every victory the aliens achieved seemed to shatter the last remnants of hope. Cities had fallen, entire nations were in ruins, and Earth's once thriving civilization was on the brink of collapse. Yet, even in the face of annihilation, there was one thing the aliens had failed to fully understand: the power of humanity's spirit. It was a force unlike any other, a strength that could not be measured by technology, weapons, or strategy. The aliens had underestimated this resilience. Dr. Rachel Bennett and her team, fueled by desperation and an unwavering belief in humanity's survival, pushed the Revelator to its absolute limits. The weapon, which had already proven capable of incredible destruction, was enhanced in a final attempt to turn the tide of war. Drawing upon the collective emotions of every person on Earth: fear, love, anger, hope, and loss, the Revelator began to hum with a new, terrifying energy. It was as if the very heart of humanity had been distilled into this one immense force. The weapon now had the combined power of an entire planet's emotions, each one flowing into it like a river of unshakable resolve. As the energy built, the weapon's power reached a critical mass, its core pulsing with unimaginable intensity. The air around it crackled, and for a brief moment, the Earth seemed to hold its breath. This was it, the final strike, the last chance for survival. The alien fleet, unaware of the storm about to be unleashed, hovered confidently in orbit. Their ships were brimming with advanced weaponry, their commanders certain that victory was inevitable. But they had made a fatal mistake. When the Revelator fired, the force of the energy was so immense, so all-consuming, that it felt as though the very fabric of space itself was torn apart. The beam that erupted from the weapon was like nothing the aliens had ever seen, a swirling, chaotic mass of energy fueled by human emotion and willpower. It slammed into the alien fleet with a force that shattered their shields like brittle glass, sending shockwaves through the alien ships. The beam tore through their vessels with such ferocity that entire fleets were wiped out in an instant. The once mighty alien ships, armed with advanced technology and unrivaled power, were reduced to smoldering wreckage, their remnants floating in the void. The invaders, now stunned and battered, could hardly comprehend what had just happened. They had never imagined that such an outcome was even possible. The alien commanders, once so confident in their victory, now found themselves scrambling, disoriented, and overwhelmed. The Revelator, powered by the collective will of every human who had ever fought to survive, had shown them the true strength of Earth. Humanity's power wasn't in their weapons, it wasn't in their technology. It was in their unyielding spirit, their ability to rise from the ashes and keep fighting no matter how many times they were knocked down. The alien fleet, now on the defensive, tried to regroup, but the damage was done. The shock of the attack had shattered their morale, and they were forced to retreat. For the first time since their arrival, the invaders had been bested. Earth, once on the brink of total annihilation, stood victorious. The Revelator had become a symbol of humanity's resistance, a testament to the strength that lies in every human heart. Yet, despite this victory, the tension remained. The aliens were not a race to back down easily. They had been humiliated, and their pride would not allow them to simply accept defeat. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. As the alien fleet withdrew, nursing their wounds, Dr. Bennett and her team knew that the respite they had earned would not last long. The invaders would return, and when they did, they would come with vengeance in their hearts. The question now was whether humanity could hold on long enough to push them back for good. Earth had won a momentous victory, but the aliens would not forget their loss. The war was not over, and neither was the struggle for humanity's survival. The turning point had arrived, but it was only the beginning of a much greater fight. In the aftermath of the battle, humanity stood victorious, but the price of that victory was heavy. The sky, once filled with the terrifying presence of the alien fleet, now lay silent. The massive ships, once brimming with invincible power, were reduced to drifting wrecks. Earth had defied the odds and sent the invaders fleeing, but there was no celebration. The world was in ruins. Cities lay in tatters, countless lives had been lost, and the scars of war were etched deep into the planet's very soul. Yet, amidst the destruction, there was a spark of hope, a feeling that had been almost extinguished when the alien fleet first descended. Humanity had done what the aliens thought impossible. They had repelled an enemy far more advanced, using nothing but their unyielding will and a weapon fueled by emotion. But now, as the dust settled and the world began to breathe again, questions remained. Would this victory be enough to ensure Earth's survival in the long term? The aliens, though battered, were far from defeated. They had retreated, humiliated by the unexpected turn of events, but their pride had been wounded deeply. The commanders of the alien fleet, who had once dismissed humanity as insignificant, were now forced to confront a terrifying truth. The strength of Earth lay not in its technology, but in the heart and spirit of its people. This realization gnawed at them, stirring a sense of urgency and anger. They could not let this defeat stand. The alien empire, vast and powerful as it was, would not simply accept a loss. They would regroup, they would rebuild, and they would come again. But this time it would be different. The next invasion would be more calculated, more dangerous. The aliens would not underestimate humanity again. In the aftermath of the battle, Dr. Rachel Bennett and her team, exhausted but resolute, found themselves staring at a world forever changed. The Revelator had done its job, but it was still a weapon, and humanity knew that relying on it too much could be dangerous. There was no going back to the way things were. The war had opened their eyes to the fragility of peace and the cost of survival. But even as the aliens retreated into the depths of space, there was a shared understanding among Earth's survivors. They had won this battle, but the war was far from over. A new chapter was beginning, one that would require unity, resilience, and a readiness to fight once again. The humans who had come together in the face of annihilation now had to rebuild, not just their cities, but their future. As leaders from all corners of the globe met to discuss what came next, one thing was clear: the alien threat wasn't gone. The scars of the battle would remain, but humanity's spirit had been forged in the crucible of conflict. In a way, they had grown stronger, more united than ever before. They were no longer the vulnerable species the aliens had laughed at. They were survivors, and they would fight to protect their home at all costs. The true challenge, however, lay in the uncertainty of what was to come. Would the aliens return with even more deadly force? Or had Earth's stand shown them the strength of the human race beyond what they could ever have imagined? The tension hung thick in the air. Humanity had won a critical victory, but the universe was vast, and Earth's place within it was no longer secure. As the people of Earth began to rebuild, they could not shake the feeling that the war had only just begun.